Say, look, your kids are at least at risk as you are. Right. Again, taking a rare risk, and then in order to downplay a very common risk, which is that if you keep your kids out of school for years, you are going to harm them. Some of them are going to get really depressed and anxious. Some of them are going to commit suicide. They will have lifelong learning loss that will harm their futures forever. And that will have consequences, including shorter lifespans. Because if you keep kids out of school, they're less well-educated, they're more likely to be poor, they're more likely to have to be less healthy in future. There's a large body of literature that says that, and that is at scale, right? So he failed to balance the risks there appropriately, and in his public communication, fear-mongered out of line with what the medical literature actually was saying. It's almost, I mean, and he had absolutely no sympathy for the harms of the policies he was suggesting. The comment about let it rip is absolutely in line with that, right? So what did we say in the Great Barrington Declaration, in which Sunetra Gupta and Martin Kulldorff wrote in October 2020? We wrote was that the risk to children was very, very small from COVID itself, but the harms to children and others were very, very high from the policies implemented for COVID. At the same time, there wasn't insufficient attention paid to the risk of COVID infection in older people, that we were not doing a very good job protecting older people. I still believe that. Like 40% of the deaths from COVID were patients in nursing homes. That's something that should never have happened. So the Great Barrington Declaration said, protect vulnerable older people better, devote resources, thinking, and energy to protecting vulnerable older people better from COVID. And at the same time, for younger people, lift the lockdowns. Don't harm them, because there's very little benefit to them from the lockdowns, but quite a lot of harm. You know, hundreds of thousands of people in March of 2020. There was a UN report that said that 200,000 people, children, had died in South Asia as a consequence of the economic dislocations caused by the lockdowns. The UN World Food Program estimated that 130 million people, this is April of 2020, would starve, would face dire food insecurity as a consequence of lockdowns. The World Bank estimated 100 million additional people in dire poverty, that is of $2 a day or less of income. So the poorest people in the world were harmed by these policies that Tony Fauci was arguing for, and they were useless. The question wasn't let it rip. The Great Barrington Declaration does not say the words let it rip. The first time I'd heard those words imputed to the Great Barrington Declaration were in the mouths of Tony Fauci, not me. And as a result, there were hit pieces all over the place, essentially saying, I want to let the virus spread. We don't have a technology to stop the virus from spreading, Randy, right? It essentially is premised on a lie that we have some capacity to make the virus not spread.